magnetic, sync with the pulse. You'll go to tech aesthetic. Let us turn the vibe up high. Just press play. Tech events, we talk the scene. Making sure your kids stay keen. Let us turn the vibe up high. Just press play. Light up the airwaves, fire the code we see. Personality in every story that we'll weave. Groove is on the beat, it's tight, we're live today. Talking apps, gadgets that light up the way. That's entertaining, oh let it play. Seamless chatter, like threads in digital tapestry. Icons and notions of this tech odyssey. That's entertaining, it's all in play. Now tune in close.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of That's Entertaining, the show where events, entertainment, and technology collide. I'm your host, Arthur Kay, coming to you live from Fusion Events HQ in the Metaverse in Toronto. And we are streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So wherever and whenever you're watching from or listening from, thank you for tuning in. And if you are watching live, please take a moment to say hello in the comments. Now, before we dive in, if you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We've got some amazing content lined up today and coming up in the future, and you definitely will not want to miss this. Now, before we dive into the show, I have a rather serious PSA that I need to share with you guys. Last week, I had the amazing Kate Pate and Sepide Evazi on the show to talk about the fires in LA and to try to raise awareness and some money for the Search Foundation, which is an amazing organization that raises money for event professionals in crisis. And unfortunately, I had a few issues with the stream last week, and it didn't go totally as planned because I'm trying to do some different things here, and I had a little bit of issue with my audio. It was a little bit out of sync. You could still hear everything fine. But I also streamed the show to my personal page. I didn't stream it to the event, and we had over like 100 people that had RSVP'd to the event. So we definitely missed some eyeballs on this. And I want to show you a little clip from that because I feel like I owe that to Kate and Seppi and the Search Foundation and all the event professionals who have been affected by the fires in Los Angeles, but also by other personal crises, health crises, and other disasters. There's been hurricanes and flooding and all kinds of stuff that Search has supported event professionals through. With money. That's what they do. They give money to event professionals in crisis. So I want to cue up this video. It's a little bit emotional, but I think it's important that we share this story. And if you are able, please donate. Every dollar helps, and it goes directly to support our fellow event professionals in crisis. So let's take a look at the video.
Really hit close to home. in 2021, we were doing an event in Miami, and your crew comes in, and we had a staffing company that we were working with for additional staff, and the catering and bartending crew showed up and came up and asked, is this the search event? And to me, they're just simply, as an event professional, they're verifying, am I in the right location? Am I checked in? Is this where I'm supposed to be? So I verified, yes, you're at the Search Foundation, that's correct. Here's your point person. And he was like, no, search, this is search, the industry one. And I was like, yes, it is, because not everyone has heard of it. And we told him, yep, this is search. And he started crying, which of course now is going to make me cry. It's always difficult to hear, but he just said, I can't believe this is my first event. And I was like, taken a little aback. And this gentleman, it was his first event back after a motorcycle accident. And he had been out for over a year. He had been in a coma. And he let us know that because of Search Foundation, that they were able to pay their mortgage and they fed their children while he was in the hospital in that coma. And we happened to be the first event that he was back working again. And when you hear that, and when you see that, and when you meet those people and you get those hugs and they just say, thank you, that was my darkest time, and this is what got me through. That's how you keep going, and that's how you find how you dig deep and you keep moving forward and you want to get back. Because once one person tells you how it affected their lives, you're never going to be the same.
Wow. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. I think, it's important to get these stories out there. So again, if you are watching and you're able, please contribute in whichever way you can, whether that is monetarily, whether that is volunteerism, whether that is just spreading the message. Please do that. Now, so yeah, I'm going to just throw this QR code up here. I'll leave it on the screen for a little bit, and you can just scan over here with your phone, and that'll take you right to the search donation page. So please consider doing that. And now let's move things along. On the docket today, I am going to show you how you can create realistic AI-generated images of yourself and other things, and then transform those images into dynamic videos. We're doing a live demo of one of the top generative AI video platforms out there, Kling AI. And if you've ever wondered how to harness AI to level up your content, you're in for a treat. But that is just the beginning, folks. Later, we'll dive into the world of immersive experiences with our very special guest, Claus Raasted. And Claus is an innovator and consultant and a prolific author. He spent over 2 decades pioneering immersive experiences, LARPing. You may not know what that is, but we'll talk about that after. Innovation coaching, and even corporate coaching at McKinsey. Today, we're going to tap into his vast experience to uncover actionable insights on AI, innovation, productivity, getting shit done, and creativity. So let's get into the show. All right, folks, here's how it works. First, I'll show you how you can generate a hyper-realistic image using cutting-edge AI tools. Then I'll show you how to feed that image into Kling to animate it, turning a still picture into a video that looks and feels like you're really there. Now, watch closely as we create something truly next level. So let me get some things set up here so I can share my screen. Okay. So let's start with how you can easily and relatively inexpensively create AI images of yourself. So what you'll need is a platform or an app that allows you to train a model of yourself by uploading photos of yourself and create photos with your prompts. So the one I have up on the screen right now is an example, is the one that I've used in some of these examples I'm going to show you today. And it's called Photorama. It is a iPhone only, or not iPhone, it's just a mobile app. There is no desktop version. And you download it and you subscribe to it via the App Store. And the cost, I don't know, I have the cost here. Let me see, I can look it up on the app. It's negligible, and you can cancel anytime. Let's say you want to maybe just spend $8 or whatever it is a month to just generate a bunch of photos of yourself and then cancel. You can do that. So Photorama, I'll give you a really quick example here. So it will take the model that's trained on your image and use various prompts and effects to generate images of you. And it's can be pretty accurate, I have to say. So you train the AI, you pick a model or an image, you can give it effects like you do it in animation style or professional headshots or even superheroes. If you saw my post this morning, I turned Klaus into a sort of hybrid Batman. So you can check that out. And you can generate photos of yourself to use for your LinkedIn profile or other professional uses. So, here are some different sort of presets, Barbie Photo Studio, but you can also just put in whatever you want. I'll show you some examples of some photos I made of myself here. Let me go back to the top here. I'm not at the beginning. All right. I should have put that. All right. So these are just some images I just prompted. I said, do a podcast studio wearing headphones and a microphone. Some fun ones I did for Christmas time. There's another one. And, if if you look at me and you look at the photo, it's, right? It's pretty accurate. I'm not going to lie. Now, it doesn't always generate, perfectly, but you can even add little boards with text. And so the neat thing is that you can really use AI to these images to kind of tell stories or put yourself in a situation to help, tell a story. There's me as Wolverine. Gotta love that. Just some professional shots. It's me in a bank vault full of gold. Just some headshots there. This is my 1950s telethon prompt. This is another one. I was doing those for the Clubici telethon. Here's my event superhero look. The Joker, the Godfather, even John Wick. My son got a kick out of that because he likes John Wick. So you can see these are pretty remarkably accurate. You can even take them into something like Canva and upscale them so they're even higher resolution. And so yeah, that's the first step. So you create images of yourself. There are other apps, I know, just probably tons of them at this point, that are just using these, diffusion models or Midjourney and, setting up these models to take your image and manipulate them with certain prompts and effects. So now, once you have your images, then you can take it to something like Kling. So here, let me go back to my dashboard here so I can show you some things that I've created here. Scroll down. So here's the Santa Claus that I showed you before. Let me blow that up here. Why is that not playing? Doesn't want to play. Okay, hold on a sec. Now let's try this Joker one. There we go. Interesting. These are not wanting to play. Maybe a little bit of an issue with Kling. Maybe I'll just try to refresh Kling. So we want to see how those videos work. All right, let's go back and try that again. All right, let's see here. Okay, here, let's just try this one. Oh, it really doesn't like when I go full screen. I don't know. Bit of a glitch today. All right, so we'll keep it on a smaller screen. There, you can see that. So that's me, completely generated by AI. You can see the prompt I have here, and you'll notice that I have a sort of character here, because in Kling, you can actually train your own AI model. So you go here and you have to accept the terms. You may want to read that if you're super privacy focused. I'm not. And so it tells you here exactly how to upload videos of yourself. Now it says you can upload up to 5 15-second videos, but you can actually upload many more. I have created a couple different models, and obviously the more images with the more variety in facial expressions, and do one on this side, do one on this side, look up, look down, look surprised, think of as many facial expressions as you can think of, and you'll get a better result. So let's take a look at some of these. Oh, no, I want to go here. Okay. Now I'm just playing around here, having some fun. Let's see. This is a really cool one. So it's kind of like a... oh, why is this... It's not wanting to play through. Okay. Which is kind of annoying when you're trying to do a demo. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, shoot. What a bummer. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's kind of playing. Yeah, it's not liking that. But you'll have to take my word for it, that there's... it's super realistic. So, what a crappy demo to give. This happened exactly when I gave the Midjourney demo too. Midjourney actually, halfway through the demo, Midjourney actually went down completely. So I had to do a part 2 to that. But you can see here, if I just hover, let's see. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. If I just hover the animation, that's me on a Pegasus-like...
Them free motherfuckers.
Oh, we added a little bit of a lip sync on that one. Sorry, that was a little bit on SFW. And then there's also a similar one here, Pixverse. So that's me transforming into a zombie, and I'm using a pre-made effect here. You have effects which you can use. You may have seen some of these people with these muscle surge AI generated pictures, them ripping their shirts off and becoming muscular. But let's see if this will work. So this was one I tried to do for more like an event rendering, so that the prompt was a corporate video showcasing a sweeping drone shot swooping down from above and flying through the aisles and over the people of the trade show. So this is pretty decent resolution, but these AI models, they keep releasing new versions, new updates, and what's kind of neat about what you can do in Kling is they have this thing called elements where you can combine photos here. So I can upload multiple images. I did it here. There's one that really turned out really well. This is my previous guest, Anthony Vade. And I just took his LinkedIn photo and a photo of me and put it in this elements, and it came out remarkably well. If you know Anthony, that looks exactly like him, the smile. It's scary good. Now me, my face is definitely not quite there, but it's got the clothes you can see from this image here on the side. So it does a pretty good job. Now let's see if it's going to want to play some of these here. Okay, here we go. It's working better now. So it's like a drone fly through using 2 different images. Just pretty cool. Let's check out this one. And I even said the prompt was super fast sweeping drone shot, swooping down. Oh yeah, I used the same prompt, but I made these two images I made in Midjourney with the prompt like, large trade show with a focal center booth that's round from Google, and actually put in the pretty close Google logo representation, so that that's something to be careful of and make sure you don't use those in any type of marketing, but I'm just showing an example. So yeah, so that's elements you can do, so that's frames. You can do a start and an end. So sorry, that's what this is. Elements. Let's see if we have one that's an element here. Yeah, this one's an element. So here's a nice fly through. Let's go full screen on this. It's combining those two. Whoa. Now it's a little bit pixelated because I chose a faster render option, but you can get these videos generated in 720, 1080p. And so it's really interesting, how you could potentially use this in a proposal, or if you have your actual picture of your actual venue with an actual rendering of a trade show booth. You could present this to a client or a potential sponsor in a really unique way, or just to, attract exhibitors or tell a story. So that's really cool. You have the ability where you can lip sync.
Do you want me to book them for next year, boss?
So this was a little story I put together about a holiday party that didn't go well because they hired the band that Shelley recommended from accounting. So
their prices will be going up by 10% next year.
Yeah, so you can see that. So that is Kling. There's Pixverse too. I think here, is this the one I made of Klaus? Here it says Klaus. And turning, and he's been known to show up in a Batman emblazoned blazer at events. So that was the inspiration here. And that's Klaus's profile photo. And that was, what was the prompt here? Let's see. What did I do for the prompt? Does it tell me? It doesn't tell me. But I can upscale it. I think it was just turn Klaus into a yellow Batman jacket wearing hybrid or something like that. So that is how you can create, take an AI photo that you create in Photorama, pop it into Kling, and create some really cool content. And, it's not perfect. You have to iterate, you have to reprompt, you have to mess with it. And just to give you an idea of the cost of this, because, the way I see it is it's a minimal investment to be able to create a lot of content. Now I wouldn't, only post AI generated content, but I think it can add some. I have posted some AI generated content that got, some good reaction. So pricing wise, so I'm paying, $96 yearly, $96, and you get, I think you get 600 credits per month. You can always buy more credits. Kling is, let's see what Kling is. So Kling, okay, so $79 per year, and you can also purchase more credits as well. So if you haven't played around with the video video AI generation, I highly recommend you get into it. It's fun and it can be useful. So now it's time for the part of the show that I am most excited about. It's time to welcome my guest, Claus Raasted. Claus is a renowned innovator and consultant and author with a career spanning over 2 decades. He is the director at the College of Extraordinary Experiences and has been a coach at top companies like McKinsey. Claus is at the forefront of immersive experience design and innovation. Let's welcome Claus to the show. Claus, how you doing, my man?
Pretty good. Thanks for showing how I would look in a Batman suit.
Well, I don't need to do that because you actually do wear a Batman suit from time to time, right? So
This is true.
thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
Well, one of the nice things about being a global person like you is that you never really know when is a good time zone to be in. So right now it's my 8 p.m. And that means that anybody in India is not going to watch this. On the other hand, we might catch a few of the Americanos. So a bit tired, but happy.
Well, I appreciate you coming. You are calling in from Denmark, right?
It's true. From Copenhagen.
Very nice. I've never been, but I had a very close family friend who kind of took me in my teenage years, and she was this amazing ex-hippie from Christiania.
We'll try to keep Copenhagen around should you choose to visit at some point. No
Oh,
guarantee, but we'll do our best.
I would love to. So, Claus, let's kick things off with a hot topic, since I was just talking about AI. Generative AI is reshaping creativity and innovation. How do you see AI transforming our daily lives and creative expression? What's your thought on this?
So I've cheated a little bit because I wrote a bit back. I wrote with an AI expert, a lovely guy called Christian Beck-Nørhave. We wrote a book on AI for decision makers. So I've looked a little bit into this, not just from a personal standpoint, but also from a policy standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. And one of the annoying things about working with people who really know their stuff, and Christian really knows his stuff, he's one of the leading AI experts in Denmark, is that you learn stuff all the time. And then when you think you get it, then they say, yeah, then you realize you didn't get it all. So the first thing I want to say about AI is that we should stop talking about AI. Here, I'm just going to quote Christian. It makes no sense to talk about AI. It makes sense to talk about not should we use AI or what is AI good for or how can we use AI. We should talk about tools that are powered by AI. And one of the examples, again, I'm going to steal from Christian, is that imagine you walk into a company, right? You are a beautiful human being and you help companies and you go in there and they say, Arthur, what do we need? Do we need more AI? And you say, okay, well, do you need more electricity? And they say, what do you mean? Do we need more electricity? That's a silly question. No. Do you want more electricity? Do you see that next year you will be using more electricity in your business? Like, I guess we don't know. Maybe if we upgrade our servers and maybe some LED lighting on the meeting hall, like, I don't really understand. Why are we talking about electricity? Well, the same way we're talking about AI. We should stop talking about more AI or less AI or AI this or AI that. We should start talking about, do we want to use more tools that are AI powered? Do we want to use more NI enabling things? Because every time you have somebody who says, I don't want any AI. Oh, how'd you get here? Well, I used Google Maps. Okay, well, you failed already. How do you play any computer games? Yes. Oh, have you seen computer games? AI, it's all over them. It's been there forever. The big thing about AI is that right now we're all talking about AI because of generative AI. But that's not the only way to do it. And it's also a matter of realizing that this AI wave we're in, there's so much snake oil, there's so much misinformation, there's so much hype, there's so much, ooh, what do we do? But it's all on this huge, massive level. It's like if somebody came into your company in 1916 and said, let's talk about electricity. What the hell do you do? Right now we know, okay, we could have a toaster and we plug it into a socket. We could have batteries, we could have solar panels. All of this is somehow electricity related. We're right now using Zoom, which burns up electricity. But if we said, hey, Arthur, how are we going to improve our business? Should we have more or less electricity? It'll be a weird question. The same with AI. So I would say, again, advised by Christian, stop talking so much about AI, start talking about AI-enabled tools that are the interesting thing, not because they use AI, but because what the tool can do, right? What you just demonstrated, Fotorama, clean. The interesting thing is not whether it's AI or not. The interesting thing is what can we use it for? Done talking.
And I agree. How can we then, let's say someone who is not AI or tech savvy and hasn't, jumped in headfirst into AI, what's the starting point?
The first starting point.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not talking about just using AI, how do you innovate with AI? How can you use it to your advantage right now in these early days?
In these early days of AI, the best way to innovate, I find, is that you look at specific AI tools and you say, what can we do with them? What can I do with ChatGPT? What can I do with Kling? What can I do with Fotorama? What can I do with something like Midjourney? And then we look at how can that change my business or my life or my art or my philosophy. Not can AI do it, but can these tools do it? Instead of talking about the big thing, electricity, AI, blah, blah, talk about the thing that we actually have, right? Can I do something with the hammer is much more interesting than saying we should have more wood in our business. I would like to have more wood. And then somebody says, what do you mean by wood? Well, I have a hammer and it's made quite a bit out of wood. And therefore it's like, no, you have a hammer. You can use it to hit nails in or bash people's heads in or break down walls, right? Whatever, you can use a hammer for many things, but it's really not interesting talking about is the hammer made of wood or is it made of plastic or steel, and say we should have more steel in our business and therefore I brought these hammers.
That makes sense. And have you seen any interesting or groundbreaking or inspiring applications of AI that have piqued your interest? And if you could share some examples.
When it comes to actual like hands-on examples, I've seen a shit ton of them. And some of my favorite are the ones that are so simple because they're replicating another human being's work just at a different level. My better half sometimes calls AI, she calls it a freelancer that is very patient, knows a lot of skills, and is sometimes drunk. Right? So you go to the freelancer and say, hey, AI, hey, ChatGPT in this case, not AI, but ChatGPT, I've written this 4-page text. Can you please look at it and tell me what are weak points in my argument? Done. Okay, hey, AI, I've looked at here's my tax returns. Can you correlate them to current Danish tax law? You can find it at this address. And then you double check because this is generative AI. It means it only takes what was there before. It doesn't make up stuff. It just makes up probability, right? It's one of these I am, and then you end the sentence. It's just so good at that we think it can think, but it cannot, and that's pretty crucial. So I've seen plenty of these places where you use it to make something so much faster or easier, right? Let's say you want to do a logo. Before, in olden days, you would have to find somebody with drawing skills and they would create a logo and you'd go back and forth and you'd pay them and they'd say, no, artistically it only works in purple, blah, 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 blah. Then came a time where you could find a lot of stock images online where if you didn't want to pay somebody, you just took this image and you said, okay, who cares if somebody else has used it for their pizza business in Morocco? I have an advertising company in Copenhagen. They're probably not going to overlap. Fine. Today, I can just say, I have a company that does this and this. Click, create me a logo that fits that. Create me 8 options. I want this one. Do more of that. Click, now we're go. Right? And what it does is it democratizes production of semi-finished to finished assets, especially in creative spaces. Anybody can now write. My 6-year-old daughter, who cannot write and is learning how to read and write right now, she knows how to write stories using ChatGPT because she'll take her iPad, she'll press the microphone icon, she knows how to use that. She speaks English, so she'll tell it, I would like to tell you a story, or I'd like make this, and then she'll ask it to make images or make texts, and then she'll say, no, make the cat this or make it that. So what it does really effectively is that these tools allow us to prototype much, much, much faster. And when we're not looking for something very specific, like you on film or Anthony on film, but something that's close enough, then we can move exceptionally fast. And I think that is just beautiful because it allows everybody to be an artist. It allows everybody to be an author. It allows everybody to be a musician. Does it make them a good one? No. Does it make them understand the theory? No. Does it make them good at marketing it? No. But
what
it
about the
allows them to test
argument?
it out.
What about the argument that it, takes away from artists and removes the the artistic, the creativity behind art and creation? What do you say to that?
I've heard plenty of arguments about how this takes away from creators and creatives, and that's true. What it takes away is the craftsmanship part of it, or at least it minimizes that. Just like suddenly when typewriters came out, you didn't have to learn how to read and write. Everybody could make a reasonably detailed R and a Q and a P and a W. And you didn't have to learn penmanship. Suddenly you could become a writer without learning penmanship. How grotesque, how horrible. When painting shops started selling painting supplies that were standardized and cheap, you didn't have to go out to be a painter to find and blend your own purple out of blueberries and acrylic poison, right? Suddenly anybody could become a painter. How horrible. Spell checking? Please, right? It takes the right. Now suddenly anybody can write. You don't even have to have the discipline to learn how to spell. Ooh. Digital desktop publishing. When I got into doing books first, the way to do publishing was you did most of the layout was done in printing houses, and it was all this like physical moving type around, and publishing was hard. Now anybody, you don't even have to know how to use InDesign or something like that. You can just go to Canva and click, say, here's my text, click, make it into a book, give me a template, click, it's done, you're out. Does Canva destroy layouters? Sure it does. Of course it does. But it also means that layouters using Canva are suddenly a lot more efficient. I think the problem is that we sometimes conflate the craftsmanship with the creativity. Spell checking did not suddenly mean that people stopped writing books or stopped creating stories, but it definitely made it easier because now to become an author, you didn't need to know how to do spell checking. Penmanship, typewriting, computers, all these tools that make it easy for us or easier for us to move fast, of course, make it easy for the people who are bad at something to get there very, very fast. It doesn't give all the deep expertise behind, and it definitely doesn't teach us how to market something or work in teams or be believable, right? I know how to write books. This, Claus Raasted's little book of getting shit done, right? Was written completely without any chat GPT, etc. Just me, took me 4 days. Sure, if I use ChatGPT, I've done a book using that, then I can get it down to 1 day and still be quite happy with the process because then I do more editing and less writing. Now, whether I can write a book in 1 day or 4 days, does that mean that suddenly my books sell? No. Does it mean they're suddenly good? Not necessarily. Does it mean that I understand anything? Not necessarily. And I think it's very simple to get caught up in this. It's easy to produce something, but if you don't know what you want to use it for or who's the audience, then how are you going to judge it, right? How are you going to know, is it good? Is it bad? Is it for the right people? It's never been easier to create a complete opera in Chinese or in Mandarin at the push of a button. But let's say you and I spent the next part of the talk here creating instead using AI-powered tools to create a opera in Mandarin. Okay, cool. Good for a YouTube video, but does it change? Is anybody going to pay for it? Does anybody want to watch it?
Yeah, there's a ton of AI generated music now on Spotify, but you don't hear about any of those songs really becoming hits or being very popular. They're just putting out quantities of AI generated songs to generate, streaming revenue, but it's a quantity thing. It's not a quality. It's not a quality play, right?
And even if it's a quality play, right? I was recently teaching innovation at a business school in Copenhagen, where a friend of mine is a professor, and I came there and guest lectured. And we talked about AI tools, and one of them said, "What will it help you?" And he said, "Well, using ChatGPT, which is by far the most popular out there, it allows me to create a SWOT analysis." Okay. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis. You can just take this company data and create SWOT analysis. Say, great. So you did that. Why is that good? Well, because then I can get that done faster and I can send it to my teacher. I said, do you think your teacher sits at home thinking, what have the students done today? Let me read the 27th SWOT analysis of this evening. Ooh, I love it. Or do you think the whole idea of you doing a SWOT analysis so you learn how to do a SWOT analysis, not ask somebody else? It's like if you want to play guitar, you say, I would like to learn how to play the guitar because I'd like to have that skill. Okay, I'm going to take an online course, and every time there's a test, I'm going to just grab a sound file from the interweb somewhere or an AI generated one, and then I'm going to upload that, and the robot instructor will say, you have progressed, Claus Raasted. You now know how to play Smoke on the Water. Your MP3 file is approved. Does that mean I know how to play it? No. Right? There's this misunderstood idea so many places in what we are trying to do and what the solution is. Like if you want to post on LinkedIn and I want to comment and we both use AI tools to do that, and that doesn't mean more connection. It just means more shit.
Yeah.
Maybe good shit, but it just means more. So I think there's a big portion of the whole AI creator and who does it undermine debate that is very misunderstood and is asking the wrong questions.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the statistic on the radio, or was that more of a prediction, I suppose you would say, that, generative AI is going to take away about roughly like 100 million jobs worldwide, but it's also going to add about 178, 180 million jobs. So it's going to actually increase jobs by about 80 million. I don't know if that's fact or, but it's interesting. You think it's garbage?
I think
you're not buying it?
So one of the advantages of having a past that is partly doing McKinsey work has been that I've gotten to see firsthand the power of taking ideas and turning them into pretty hard data. Right? I know a bit about how those sorts of processes work, and it's really useful, really impressive. It also means that I have a pretty good idea that the further out you get, the weirder it gets. When somebody says the energy transition will be done in 2034, it's like, yeah, if nothing changes, if we don't suddenly elect some sort of complete crackpot to sit on top of our government, which seems to be popular these days, if there's a Chinese AI model that doesn't suddenly upend all of our ideas about what happens if the stock market dips 10% in a day, if we don't have an outbreak of war somewhere, if there isn't a pandemic, if, and it's fair enough to say, if everything holds true, this is our best guess. But when somebody says it's going to subtract 100 million and then it'll add 178 million, it sounds like math and science, but in reality, it's like, bleh.
Yeah.
And sometimes the blah is right, but so often, right? When did we have self-driving cars? When did the world collapse? When did we suddenly have, when did China overtake the US in production? When did Japan become the biggest economy on the planet? You go to 1986 and you watch a newscast about economics worldwide, then you'll see that Japan is on the way to overtake the US, and it's only a matter of time before it happens. Oops. Then 30 years later, you find Japan still has a GDP of 4 trillion, which it had 30 years ago. It's gone nowhere. Where the US has kind of, I think, 4 doubled or something insane in that time, just to take an example. And the thing is, whenever we talk about these big changing things that are so complex with so many moving parts, who the hell knows? Because we do live in a world where how many times does your boyfriend think about the Roman Empire per week was a real thing? Right? Who's going to predict that stuff? Who's going to predict Tiger King?
Yeah.
We can't. We can guess, and that's fair, but we should be, I find, a little bit more interested in saying, I think we should go this way and see where it leads us, rather than the numbers clearly state that this is what happens, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. I think that's smart. Don't listen to the hype. Anything can change. Nobody predicted ChatGPT coming out. I mean,
Nope.
unless you're like deep in the AI world and, you had some inside information, but that just took the world by storm and just, really
Exploded.
it exploded. Now I want to switch gears. The problem with having a guy like you on my show is that there's never enough time to ask all the questions I want to ask. Now I want to give some quick fire, actionable content, something our audience can immediately put into practice, because I know that
Then if we do that, let's spice it up a little bit here. Right?
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Let's move.
Ooh. Oh, yes. Ah. Is that the College of
Green screen
Extraordinary
into play.
Experiences?
It is. It is.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a sec as well. I definitely want to talk about that. But
Let's start by giving people a small, fun analog tip for how you can do fun things, right? So I've now
Okay.
created a backstage in my office, which means I can do this.
oh,
Ooh, just using a little bit of trickery and visual magic.
he's
No
like the
AI.
Wizard of Oz,
No
behind the
fancy
curtain.
tools.
I like it. So I want to know, because a lot of talk about innovation. You speak a lot about innovation, but a lot of people are saying they're innovators. A lot of, like, for example, I got or someone wrote about this Apple event app and how innovative it was, and I was like, I don't know, is this innovation or is this a feature? And what are three ways someone can innovate today, even if they're not like in a high tech role or they're not techie? What is, let's just use an example, like an event planning company. Okay. Cause I'm in the events world. How event planning there hasn't been a ton of innovation in the process of event planning, right? How would an event planning company that's maybe struggling or looking to find new opportunities, how do they innovate? And what is innovation? Anyways, everybody has a different definition. What is your definition of innovation?
So just one simple question with like
One
no-
simple
no.
question. I'm very good at asking long-winded, multiple questions.
I generally say to people that innovation is that black box thing we put between where we are and where we'd like to go. And that's where we go wrong. We are here, we'd like to go there, and in between is innovation. What does innovation mean? Who the hell knows? So what would I do in this example? And one of the tricky things about me is that, yes, I'm one of the people from the College of Extraordinary Experiences, and I do stuff that sometimes is a bit out of the ordinary. However, I also do a lot of really, really basic stuff. And one of the things I advise so many organizations on is get the basics. Look at the basics, because then you will have outsized results. One of the tips I think most people have quoted me on is, for event design, if you want people to talk, start by turning down the music. It's really that simple sometimes, that if you want people to talk, then if you have a space where you've rented impressive venue and expensive DJ and amazing food, then somebody should say, okay, we've spent this much money on AV, we've spent this much on the location, or there's a partner supporting it, we've this much on food, this much on this and this and this. And why are we doing this again? Oh, so all these people who fly in from all over the world can meet each other and talk. Okay, what's the one thing that's hard to do when the rock band is playing like da-na-na-na-na-na, and it's really hard? It's talk. Right? That's where I find it goes wrong in so many events, that we lose sight of what we're trying to do. If you've ever heard me comment on name tags, I can rant about those for hours, right? You have these things at events and everybody gets them. And what do we spend most of the space on? You are at this event. Yeah, I knew that because I'm at this event. So yeah, put it in the corner for the memory, but you don't need to spend half of the name badge on it. What do we want to know when we go up to people? We want to sniff them discreetly and find out, oh, that guy who I met 3 times before or who introduced himself, is his name Arthur or is it Artie or is it Archie or is it something else? I can't remember. Oh, that's awkward. Let's move away. Just put your name on it in big letters. And again, if you want to have better events, have shorter lanyards so people don't have to look down to my name tag hanging over my ample stomach, but instead have it up here so you can just quickly look down. Look, it's so
I have to
much
tell you, that
stuff.
is the most awkward thing when I'm like meeting a woman for the first time at a conference and the badge is down here and I'm trying to look at the name and I'm like, this is not a good look.
It's not, and instead we have people talking about, oh, we should use this and this technology, and we should have this and this strategy, and we should use this and this organizational cultural matrix, which is all great. But start by putting the lanyards so you're not embarrassing people when they look at each other because they don't know each other's names and it's awkward to ask the 5th time. Turn down the music. Make sure that when you have a check-in queue that's an hour long, just a sign, just a printed sign that says, the queue takes some time. Feel free to talk to each other. Meanwhile, you have our permission. Small behavioral stuff goes a long way. I'm not against huge productions. I'm not against big things or complex stuff. But I see that when I advise people in the events world on what to do differently, it is much easier to get them to talk about a new technology or $100,000 buy on AV than it is to say, hey, how about we did this thing that's small differently? How about we change that? How about we put a sign on a table for lunch that said, if you sit at this table, you're okay with talking about marketing? Because you know what's going to happen? The people who get their small bowls of beautiful sponsored soya, rice, milk, sustainability friendly future food, they're going to look around. They'll say, oh, there's a table. It says marketing table. Here we talk marketing. And then there's one that says, here we talk expansion in China. And then there's one that says, here we talk about football. Oh, I want to talk about marketing. And then they sit down, and who else sits down? Other people who want to talk about marketing. And suddenly your lunch is a conversation because of one silly sign on a table.
I think that's such a good point that, I think people find or have this idea in their head that innovation is always like a big, huge change, that it's got to be heavy in technology. But really you can innovate in the most simplest ways by just changing small behaviors of things that people are just used to doing, right? Like going to a lunch at a conference and just having to find somewhere to sit awkwardly with other people. Just putting something as simple as a sign can make such a big difference. Now, I want to ask you about the LARPing, because I promised people that we would talk about LARPing for those that don't know. What is LARPing?
So
and how does it relate to events? How can you use LARPing in events? And can you use LARPing in events? Or can you only do it in a castle in Poland?
I love how we're keeping the questions simple, Arthur. I really think that's a key thing here, that there's no question that's just a question. It's always like with several layers of under questions. I appreciate that. So LARPing is short for live action role play. And what it essentially is, if you strip it all down, it is people pretending to be somebody else, somewhere else, doing something else, right? So this beautiful castle that you see behind me is actually a setting for some LARP events, for some role-playing events, where people come here. And the first time I used this castle as a venue was in 2017, and when I still had a role-playing company, and we ran a Harry Potter-inspired wizard school event here. So for 4 days, people came here and pretended to be wizards in this meeting of wizard schools. So this was a wizard school. It's also been a occult university. We've done stuff with wooden sailing ships in the Baltic. One of the crazier things I was part of was we drove across the United States. We drove 4,000 kilometers along Route 66 with a fake rock band and played real concerts along the way. But role playing as its core is pretending. It's playing let's pretend, just with better stories and better costumes. And what I've been doing, I'm on my second career now with this getting shit done and culture and experience design. My first career, for many years, I was a role-playing evangelist. I was a live-action role-play evangelist. I was becoming the world's largest live-action role-play studio. Not big. We're not talking Disney size. We're about 50 people when we were at our biggest globally, so it's tiny. And then, of course, I crashed it all, landed myself in massive personal debt and needed to dig myself out of it, but that's a different story. But for many years, this creating fictional universes was what I did for a living. And one of the nice things about it, when you talk about events, is that there is, in my mind, there is no better way to teach people than by using role playing, because it's a creation of fake reality. Right? We have in our day-to-day reality, we have 5 senses. We have social rules, we have stories, we have physical rules, we have all these sorts of things. And when you're doing a role-playing event, you're basically replacing them. So you're saying, okay, you now have a new name, a new personality. There are different social rules here. You wear different clothes. It looks different. It feels different. But it's fake reality. And the brain, and these are not my words, but those of a Danish neuroscientist, the brain does not understand fiction. The brain does not understand whether I am Klaus and you are Arthur, or if we are now Hans and Franz and we are now running a TV show where it's going to be Hans and Franz are going to pump you up. And if we face the world that way and other people interact with us like we're Hans and Franz, then our brain says, oh, this is now Hans and Franz, great, that's fine. So this thing we call consensus reality, this normal day-to-day life of stable identity and stable social rules and cultural norms and money is real and so is the internet, all that sort of thing, you can play around with that. And what I found when I went from role-playing to broader consulting, business advisory, that sort of thing, was that by learning how to create fake reality for orcs and pirates and space cadets and 1950s lawyers and Romans in these fictional universes, I could use a lot of the same tools to create real reality for sales teams or for leadership events or for facilitating workshops, because a lot of the techniques are the same, even though, of course, there's a difference whether you're saying we are now in the 3rd century AD, this is the border to Germany and you are the last Roman legion. Here's how we do in the legion. You only talk when you have the talking stick. You never gossip. You never talk back to a superior. Well, guess what? That's not very far from saying this is the sales division of Let's Make Money Inc. We only talk when we have the talking stick. You never talk back to a superior. You are never the same cultural, shall we say, tricks can be applied in the real world as well as the fictional world. So I realized that I had something, and I had massive training and experience in something that was really good for creating experiences and creating culture. I just needed to figure out how to learn new language so I could talk to people who had spent their life in a boardroom instead of their life in an orc costume.
Wow. I want to show a clip of the College of Extraordinary Experiences for people to really get the sense of what this thing is like. Now, who's the target audience for this? Like, is this for event planners? Is this for creatives? Like, who do you get out to these events?
So the basic idea of the college is that it is a place where you meet people you would otherwise not have met, and you do things you would otherwise not have done, and you see sides of yourself you would not otherwise have seen, which of course leads to reflection, transformation, and growth. These are not my words, but those of one of our previous participants, Monica. And they're pretty good, because what it says is that the college is a place where you get to meet people. And then there's a chance, by seeing their perspective, that you come home with some new ideas about your life, your business, etc. So we don't really care where people come from, but we do build cohorts that are different from each other. So we'll never have 100 IP lawyers or 100 brick makers or 100 doctors or 100 musicians, but we might have all 4 of those sitting at a table together.
Right. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the College of Extraordinary Experiences. Check it out.
Imagine if education was actually like this. There's no PowerPoints, there's no screens, there's no keynote speakers.
A week-long creative residency to experiment with how to expand your own dimensions as an experience designer, as a creator, and hopefully as a human.
College is for everybody who believes in the business of experiences. It is absolutely mind-blowing to see the diversity of people who get together here. There are layers and layers and layers and layers to what happens here.
And what is so cool about the college is that it's not just interdisciplinary, it's like interdimensional. I can't describe it, except for the word ineffable.
Unexpected but needed.
It's like a paradox, okay? But paradox is that, okay? Always real balance is include a paradox, like a yin and yang.
It is absolutely unexpected.
Magical, childlike wonder. This space is designed for us to meet all these people we normally would never meet, go to classes and do things we would never normally do, and end up revealing parts of ourselves we would never normally see, thereby going home transformed.
Wow. How cool is that? So is this a every year event, or how often does this happen? When's the next one?
So the next one is in September of this year, and we currently do one a year, but the long-term plan is to do not just multiple events a year, but to establish the college as a permanent space. But before we get to that, we need to we need to do a few a year, and before we do that, we need to do one where everything works the way we think it should, both from a business sense and also from an experience design sense.
Right. Well, if you haven't already gone to check out the College of Extraordinary Experiences, there's still an opportunity, right? What's the website if people want to sign up?
The website
actually, it's
is
right here. Look, I have it right here. Extraordinary.college. Right there. The last frame of the video. And if people want to hire Claus to speak at their conference about innovation, or hire you as a consultant to help them get shit done, what's the best way to do that?
So there is a website, which is my website, and that's either find me on LinkedIn, that's easy, or on clausraasted.com is the easiest way to find me. Like the name, just with a .com at the end. Or find me on LinkedIn. I'm reasonably active on LinkedIn. Yes. You can also just do a Google search on my name, and it'll lead to a rabbit hole of crazy proportions. You may not want to go down it, but it's there.
All right, you heard it here, folks. You can choose or choose not to do that. Claus, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to listen to you speak, and I love your take on things, and I really think people need to listen to your words on innovation and getting shit done, because with 46 books and 1,000 keynotes, you clearly know how to get shit done. So thank you so much for being on the show, and wishing you all the best in your future endeavors with the college and everything else that you're up to. And look forward to catching up with you again real soon, Claus.
A pleasure as always, Arthur. Thanks.
Take care, my friend. All right, so that brings to conclusion another episode of That's Entertaining. I want to thank everyone for sticking around. If you enjoy the show, like I said, earlier, you can give us a like, give us a subscribe. You can ding the notification bell so that you get notified when I post content or go live. Got some exciting developments coming up in the near future with more content, some more AI stuff, amazing guests. And you can also check out previous episodes on Spotify, or Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, I should say. Just search That's Entertaining and you'll find us there. So for now, this episode is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. This is Arthur signing out. I say, let's go out with some pyro. Let's do it. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Whoa! Let's go. See you guys later.
Sure your ears stay keen.